Hi guys, welcome back to Morning's Book List. So we're here to talk about my most anticipated reads for 2019. I'm going to break it up into two sections in this video. The first sections are going to be books that are going to be published in 2019 that I'm looking forward to reading, and then the second is going to be books that I just haven't gotten to in 2018 that I want to get to in 2019. So the first book in the books that will be published in 2019 is The Bride's Test. It is not a sequel to The Kiss Quotient, but it is by the same author. It's still kind of in the same world, if you will, but it's a different story in that world. Second is Harley Quinn's Mad Love. It is a graphic novel. I love graphic novels, and I'm really excited to read it. It's about how she meets the Joker and basically how he basically takes over her brain, or he doesn't take over, but how he seduces her basically. So I'm really, really, really excited about reading that. And I'm also excited to read this book called The Cute Meat. And it's about this young lady who starts dating this famous heartthrob. She's like his ultimate fan, and she starts dating him. And it looks like it's going to be a cute little romantic comedy, if you will. So I'm really excited to listen to that or read that. And that comes out I think that comes out in the first part of next year. It comes out in February. Bride's Test comes out in May. Mad Love comes out in April, and this comes out in February. Next, I'm looking forward to reading a book called Inventing Victoria, and this one is really interesting because it's about a African American lady who is living in Savannah, Georgia in the 1800s, late 1800s, and she's kind of embarrassed about who she is and her family and her upbringing so far. So she wants to reinvent herself, and she meets this lady who helps her reinvent herself. And then she becomes Veronica, and the lady teaches her like the rules of etiquette and how to be a wealthy black person in the 1800s. So I am really looking forward to reading that, and that comes out it comes out in January, so I'll probably get my hands on it as soon as possible. It's by a young lady by the name of Tanya Bolton, so I'm really excited to read that. All right, so then we have that's coming out in June, a book by V. I think her last name is Kinlan. V. Kinlan. She writes kind of smut, but it's not actual smut. That's what I tell myself because it just makes me feel better about reading a lot of her books. It's called Fake It Until, well, actually, this is not, I'm wrong book. Wrong book. It's called We Shouldn't. We Shouldn't is about these two people who meet in an elevator, and the young lady in the book has received a ticket on her car, and there's a car that's literally parked right in front of her, the same make and model, and she's like, what's the chances that I just put the ticket on their car and they pay it none the wiser? Come to find out, she actually, when she goes to put the ticket on his, well, I'm telling you, it's a guy. When she goes to put his ticket on that car, she actually breaks the windshield, and then she's like, "Well, I don't know what to do. I don't want to pay the ticket, and I don't want to pay for his windshield." So she just keeps it moving, and then she gets in the elevator, and the person whose car it is actually in the elevator with it, and it's a guy, of course. And she thinks like he's looking at her like, oh, he wants them, get it popping in there. And no, it's not, because one, he saw her put the ticket on his car, and two, he saw her break his windshield. So, so yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. This one is by V. Kinlan, or Keelan. And I really like she wrote a book that I really like called not called Blue, it's called Hate Notes. It's a very cute book. Um, some adult content, but it's very cute. I really enjoy it. It's about someone. All right, I shouldn't do a review of it, but it's a cute book, so I'm really excited to read this book also. Next, I'm excited to read this book called Fake It Until You Break It. It is about two people whose parents or whose mothers are best friends, and it's a guy and a girl, and their parents think that they should be together. Like, they just keep pushing them towards each other. They just keep pushing them towards each other, and they just like they like each other as friends, but they don't really like each other like boyfriend and girlfriend. But they decide, like, look, let's just shut our parents up and pretend to date until we find other people, and then we'll break up, and then they'll be like, okay, well, you guys tried and it didn't work. And that's by a young lady by the name of Helen Hunting, I believe. I probably said it wrong. If I did, I'll put the name of the author here. And that one comes out in June of next year, so I'm really excited to read that. I'm also excited to read a book called Fat Angie and the Rebel Girl Revolution. I'm believing this is a part two to another book called Fat Angie. I know in this book, the young lady is taking a trip that she's taking for her deceased sister. So I should probably read just Fat Angie and then read this after that. It's probably what I should do. And then there's a book called Spotted Dog by one of my favorite authors. Her name is Carrie Greenwood. She wrote a bunch of mystery series. Like, she wrote this mystery series about a lady that lived in the 20s in Australia, which I loved. I never said the title right. So I'll put a book of the book I'm talking about. But this book, The Spotted Dog, is about her second mystery series that she wrote. Was the Karina Chapman mystery series. And Karina is a baker, and again, she's in Australia, and she's a little full. I don't know. I guess we could say she's plus size. She's a plus size woman, and she meets this guy who's really cool, and she's surprised that he likes her, but he's like, look, all that weight stuff don't bother me. I just like you for who you are. So there's a few books in this series. I think there's a total. I think this is either four for the fifth book in that series, and this particular book is about this veteran who has a spotted dog, and one day the dog just shows up without him, and she goes on to try to find out where the guy is and what happened to him. And that comes out in March of next year. Then there's The Wedding Date, and this is by the author of, sorry, not The Wedding Date, The Wedding Party. This is the same author as the author of The Wedding Date and The Proposal. And this story is about two of Alexa's friends who actually don't really like each other, but they start fooling around, and they decide to just to fool around until the wedding is done. And I guess you go on the ride of them fooling around until the wedding is done. And this comes out in July of next year. So that's all the books that I'm looking forward to reading that are being published in 2019. And then the next part of the list is just books that I'm just excited to read in 2019. And anyone that knows me knows that I love Sherlock Holmes. Anything that has to do with him, any new interpretation of it, I'm going to read it. If it's a movie, I'm going to watch it. I'm not excited to watch this Will Ferrell movie. Is it Will? Yeah, Will Ferrell. But it's about Sherlock Holmes, so I'm going to watch it and be probably very upset about it. But Sherlock Holmes and the Sussex Sea Devils, I want to read that. There is a book called 13 Ways to Look at a Fat Girl. I know people had some, I know some people had some issues with this book, but I really want to read it. Another graphic novel, The Watchmen. I want to read The Killing Game. I think that's the name of the graphic novel, the one where, if anyone that knows anything about graphic novels, you know this is the only one where Batman actually, from what you get, is that he winds up actually killing someone in the book. So I'm kind of looking forward to reading that. Then there's the classics I'm looking forward to reading. I'm looking forward to finishing Frankenstein. I'm looking forward to reading Moby Dick. I know it's a very long, hard book to read, but I'm hoping to tie it in with some of the other books. Maybe while I'm reading one of the graphic novels, I'll read Moby Dick at the same time. I'm hoping to get to The Time Machine, which is actually not a really long read. So I probably could get that done very soon. I want to reread all of the play, I think it's a novel. I think it's a play/novel, Oliver Twist. Um, and then moving back into books, I want to read, or modern day books, I guess you will. I want to read The First Wives Club, The Beast's Heart. I guess it's the retelling of um, Beauty and the Beast from the Beast's standpoint. I want to read a book called Stitching Snow. I guess it's a retelling of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Anyone that knows me knows that I don't like any of the fairy tale books. Not for some I don't know, for some reason other than the fact I always, even as a kid, I found them incredibly boring. I think the only book I ever liked fairy tale wise when I was a kid was probably Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and that's only because I thought it was cool that those dwarves had really cool names like Sleepy, Dopey, and Doc. But I'm really excited to read this retelling. And then there's Spinning Silver, which is kind of a retelling of the Rumpelstiltskin story. So I'm really excited to take those on. Another book that I want to read is the retelling of Frankenstein. Um, I don't remember the name of it, but I think its focus is more on Justine. So I really want to. I hear it's really good. I hear it's like it kind of deals with how you give your world over to someone because they're basically taking care of you, and what would you do to stay in a place of lavish life and things like that. So I'm looking forward to reading that. There's a few other books that I'm really looking forward to reading, but none that I can remember right now. But of course, I'll probably add a whole bunch to this list. I know this is about 18 to 20 books that I want to read, that I for sure want to read next year. Yeah. So what are you anticipating reading? Are there any books that haven't yet been published that you're looking forward to reading, or are there any books that have been published that you want to get to in 2019? Just let me know. But until then, thank you for spending time with me, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.